The death of a child is always a tragic event. However, it's even worse when your religion prevents you from being able to make any accusations against the people who could have done such a tragedy. This is what plagues the family of 15-year-old Chaim Weiss. Chaim Weiss was brutally murdered on November 1st, 1986, while he was attending a yeshiva. As of recording this installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary, there has been no updates regarding the murder of this child. I'm honestly not sure how I can really process this case. This is a case I find myself constantly thinking about, and it's kind of maddening, at least to me, that because of your religion, you cannot even point your finger at anybody. Basically, the family of Chaim Weiss, their religion is you cannot make an accusation unless you have absolute proof. So it seems like whoever killed this child, they kind of know the rules of this religion, which is pretty sad. And because of these rules, it basically kind of handcuffed the police from being able to do what they needed to do. But yeah, so let's get on with this case, the murder of Chaim Weiss. How can I help but wonder if the situation of this murder was different, would this case have been solved already? Well, I guess it's time, ladies and gentlemen. I got my headphones on. Video is 3, 2, 1, let's go.
America's God's crucible, the great melting pot. These words, written nearly a century ago, are as true today as they were during the great European migration. However, woven into the colorful fabric of American society, a few subcultures are so self-contained and tradition-bound.
The question I often find myself asking myself is, let me re-say that. The question I find me ask myself all the time is, at what point should religion and the rules of your religion take a backseat to the law?
That they are shrouded in mystery for those in the mainstream and are all too often misunderstood. Orthodox Jews comprise only about 0.1% of our population. Their roots may be traced back 5,000 years to the time of Moses. Observant Orthodox Jews live according to strict codes of social and moral conduct which have remained unchanged for centuries.
I'm not even shitting on the religion. I that's not what people. I don't. If you're watching this and you think I'm going to shit on the religion, I'm not. I just want the case. I want the case solved, mainly because a law was broken. A law was broken. A 15-year-old teenager was murdered as they slept. Should the rules of their religion take a backseat to what the laws of the country are? It's so sad because of the fact that literally everybody who's involved in this case that wants to see justice be served, they can't do anything because they're literally being restricted, and that would drive me nuts. If I was an investigator on this case and I was interviewing people and they're literally like, we can't help you because we don't know who did this, that would drive me nuts.
Hours of daily prayer and a rigid dietary regime are among the ancient rituals which guide the Orthodox Jew through birth, marriage, and death. To ensure the continuation of the tradition, many communities have established yeshivas, schools which include an emphasis on the religious and ethical principles of Orthodox Judaism.
So did God.
5,000 plus years that this religion has been practiced. You would think that in 5,000 years they'd make one little addendum to the rules that basically says, If somebody is murdered, you should work with the police to help solve that case.
On Saturday, November 1st, 1986, Don Daly, a veteran Nassau County, New York police detective, was unexpectedly thrust into this uncommon environment. At 8 a.m., Daly was dispatched to a yeshiva in Long Beach, New York, to investigate the murder of one of its students. The victim was 15-year-old Chaim Weiss of New York City.
Okay, so his name is Chaim Weiss. Due to the way it's spelled, I always pronounce it as Chaim Weiss, but it's Chaim Weiss.
A single blow to his skull with a sharp object had severed his spinal column.
Imagine how hard that impact must have been. It wasn't just, like you're hitting somebody. This person hit this 15-year-old teenager so hard it severed his spinal cord. That takes some strength. So right there, I'm thinking it has to be a young adult or even a middle-aged adult. I cannot imagine a little child hitting somebody so hard that it literally, breaks their spinal cord or whatever. I just can't see that happening.
Rusty, would you lie here, please?
Sure, no.
Investigators found no murder weapon. There was no evidence of a robbery or signs of a struggle. Almost immediately, Detective Daly realized that this would be a unique investigation, unlike any other in his 25-year career.
I know I don't really say it that much in these videos, but like when I'm talking to people I know, I'm like, if I ran this country, I always kind of sometimes preface what some of my opinions are, like if I ran this country. If I ran this country, shit like this, where we're like, we can't tell you anything because of our religion, that would not be permitted in my country. If this was my country, that shit would happen. Well, we can't tell you. Too fucking bad. You're going to tell us. This person was murdered. You're not going to hide behind your goddamn religion. Justice will be served. That's what I would say if this is my country, but sadly, it's not my country.
Well, I think initially we were dealing with a Saturday, which is a Sabbath. When we arrived at the scene sometime around 8 o'clock in the morning, it was difficult to talk to anybody at that particular time because, number one, the people we're dealing with, being Orthodox Jews, they're not able to write. We couldn't take statements from anybody. We got the impression a lot of the students at that time were afraid to talk to us or a little shy. Could you bring that door?
In the victim's room, Daly found a series of clues which indicated that the killer might have been familiar with the yeshiva and the customs of Orthodox Judaism. It appeared that Chaim had been killed as he slept. His body...
I can't think of a worse way to die. If somebody's going to kill me, for example, I would like to go out fighting. I would like to go out, like fist flying. I can't think of a worse way to die than to be murdered as I slept. That is like the ultimate cowardly act. You can't face the person, eye to eye, fist to fist on the field of battle. Instead, you're going to kill them while they sleep. What kind of coward does that? What kind of coward kills somebody while they sleep?
The body was then moved, not once, but twice. First from the bed to the floor, and later to another spot 2 feet away.
Okay, now this is something that's always kind of bothered me. It's like, now the reasoning that they think it was that the body was originally moved was you're supposed to move the body to the coldest, location possible, which would be like the floor or the ground. Chaim was already on the floor after they moved him that first time. Why would they move him the second time just a couple feet? I don't understand that at all.
It also seems strange that Chaim's window had been left wide open on a chilly October evening.
That's nothing new. Hell, I do that all the time. I love sleeping with my window open. But then again, I'm also not living in a dormitory, basically.
We've spoken to several people about this who are involved in the Orthodox religion. It would be customary in the religion to open a window or a door where the the dead person would be to let the spirit out. It would also be customary for the body to be taken off the bed because the body should be at the lowest point and the coolest point being the floor compared to the bed.
Another ritual would result in a third peculiarity. One of the rabbis asked to leave a memorial candle in the room, which would burn for 7 days. The crime scene was then sealed. However, 2 days later, another candle mysteriously appeared.
Who put this candle in this room? It had to be somebody, that was knowledgeable of this religion. And whoever it was did not fear the police. They went into a crime scene, which makes me wonder, did they not dust the doorknob after it was clear that this room was broken into?
No one in the school ever admitted to having placed it in the room.
If they lit that candle as a gesture of sympathy or love for Chaim, why wouldn't they come forward and say that? That's certainly a good thing to do. Nobody came forward with that.
With little else to go on, Detective Daly set about piecing together the final hours of Chaim Weiss's life. He learned that Chaim was an outgoing, likable teenager who was at the top of his class. He had been attending the Yeshiva in Long Beach for 2.5 years.
Chaim was loving, joyous, bright. As far as I know, at the Yeshiva, Chaim had no problems that I can think of.
So we have a teenager who was basically, a really good student who apparently he must have been well liked, good grades and all that. I can't help but wonder if possibly the person that murdered Chaim, if it was like a jealousy issue. Maybe the killer, they thought, that their parents basically kind of pushed him, like forced him to be the best. And then here we have Chaim, who maybe that a lot of what they practice comes a lot easier to Chaim. And the killer was jealous. And he figured I'm thinking it's a he, but the killer figured that they have to do something to Chaim because if he doesn't get that top spot, his parents may be really upset. So basically that they felt that the only thing they could do is basically kill their schoolmate.
He felt comfortable. Maybe there was some things going on which is normal among kids.
Now go, students, go. Good Shabbos to you. Don't forget, it's Halloween.
In 1986, Halloween fell on a Friday night, the beginning of the Jewish Sabbath.
Okay, now there's actually a reason why I'm doing this case right now, and it's going to be uploaded today on November the 1st, 2025, because this actually marks the 39th anniversary of the murder of Chaim Weiss. This person, the person who killed Chaim, has not been brought to justice. And I'm not going to be so egotistical and think that my video is going to help capture a person. But what I do hope is that somebody sees this and it starts getting a memory to start jogging, and they're going to start thinking, and maybe down the road this can help be a positive step in ultimately getting something taken care of.
In the late afternoon, Chaim left class with his friends to attend services. Afterwards, he would return to the dormitory. Several hours later, 2 classmates saw Chaim reading in the hallway.
Many of the students do that because of their religion. They don't put lights on and off at that time. On the Sabbath, it was dark, so the lights are left on in the main hallway. The students sit out in the hallway and read.
I'm not sure how I could handle, being in a religion like that where you can't have lights on at a specific time. You have to follow all these. I guess I'm just too free spirited. But the one thing that I absolutely believe in is the rule of law has to be followed. No matter where the road takes you, the rule of law needs to be followed.
Chaim Weiss was last seen alive at 1 a.m. Police speculate that the killer might have known the layout of the dormitory and was probably aware that Chaim was one of only 2 students without a roommate.
If somebody came,
Which makes me think that this had to either been an adult, like say a teacher, for example, or it had to be another one of the students. If that wasn't the case, and literally that, this was just a stranger that walked in off the street, why was this building left unlocked where people are sleeping? I'm not sure about you, but to me, I view like sleeping to be like one of the most vulnerable positions that a person could be in. You can't do anything while you're asleep. So to me, like to put yourself to sleep is like the ultimate act of trust. Granted, I live by myself. I have I have a locked door. I have weapons to protect myself. But at some point, I still have to go to sleep. This is why I do not like the idea. They say that churches are open like 24/7 and all that. It should not be like that. Too much can happen. And especially if you're living in a dormitory group setting, or whatever you want to call it. And, it just offers too much temptation.
came up through that stairwell, those rooms were all occupied by students. Nobody heard anything unusual, no yelling or screaming.
And this actually makes me ask another question. Like, why was Chaim and another student the only 2 students or whatever that did not have a roommate? Why was it like this?
However, we did have one student who felt that he heard his door open up sometime during the night and then close again, but he assumed it was his roommate. There are a lot of questions that we haven't been able to answer. We have some things that we have to put behind us here.
A few days after the murder, Detective Daly called a meeting with the students, teachers, and rabbis. Daly was desperate for information and implored them to come forward.
But if anybody knows anything, we need the help.
But almost every question he asked was answered by stony silence.
And this is what I was talking about. Like, this shit would not be permitted if this was my country. There would be a rule that basically says you have to help the police if somebody is murdered. If somebody's murdered, and you even if you're just like trying to give like simple information, you should be forced to give that information, to go around and say, hey, our religion prevents us from making accusations or anything. That would not fly. That would not fly with me. No, a person was murdered. That person deserves justice.
Do you fellas really, do you understand how important this is? We learned at one point that in their particular Orthodox religion, unless you have proof or another witness, mere suspicion alone is not enough to go and say anything or to accuse somebody. So they wouldn't talk about other students or who they might suspect or what their feelings were.
They could just talk, hell, just let them talk. They may have information that could, right now, as I'm talking, like in this video here, somebody could have had information back in 1986 when the murder happened, and because of the religion, they were forced to stay quiet about it. And as the year passed, 1 year became 2 years, 2 years became 3 years, 3 years became a decade, 1 decade became 3 decades. That information could have been forgotten. Why? Because the religion prevents them from even saying anything about it.
Were because they didn't want to put any blame on anyone without more than mere suspicion.
Do you know for sure who killed Chaim Weiss?
No.
Police eventually polygraphed 40 students and several of the school's teachers and rabbis.
Did you kill Chaim Weiss?
God forbid.
Just answer with a yes or no answer, please.
No.
However, Detective Daly obtained no useful information from the polygraph exams.
Okay, so if there was no useful information, it could have been that the person who killed Chaim Weiss, it could have been that they were literally, like I mentioned earlier, it could have been a stranger off the street, which goes back to the original question: why was this location left unlocked? If you want to have, like, say, access to like the main chamber where people pray and all that, fine. If you really want to, you could have that left unlocked. But why is the sleeping chambers left unlocked where people could easily go and kill people? Why? It really kind of makes me wonder if this was a child of one of the teachers or one of the rabbis at this yeshiva, would they have still been absolutely quiet and stone-faced and unwilling to help the police? Call me cynical, but I don't think that they would. I think that they would actually break whatever their rules are and want to get justice for the child. And they would be making accusations left and right.
It seemed as if he would never find a suspect or a motive.
No. We'd like to see anybody with any information at all. Whether at that time they didn't want to tell us because it was mere suspicion, maybe they have a different feeling now, and maybe mere suspicion would be helpful to us and give us those suspicions so we can go out and investigate them.
The not knowing makes it much more difficult for me to cope. Certain things I accept.
You shouldn't have to accept your child being killed. Your child was taken from you. Why? Why are you... Even, this is like to the father. I'm not sure if the father's still alive, But like, why are you so blasé about it? Your kid was taken from you. If this was my kid, I would move heaven and earth to find the piece of shit who took my kid from me. And here you have it seems like everybody in this specific religion, it seems like they just don't fucking care. Where's your fucking emotions, man? Your kid was murdered and you're just... Bullshit, I tell you. It's fucking bullshit.
My son's dead, but the murderer is still loose. All these unanswered questions makes me feel very, very uneasy.
Yeah, it should. It should make you feel uneasy. Your kid was killed. You have a right to have answers. Why was my kid taken from me? The way the father acts like he is actually burdening the people who actually murdered his kid by the way he acts. Me, like I said just a second ago, I would be a ranting, raving lunatic if I found out my kid was killed.
One question above all others continues to haunt this case. Why would anyone brutally murder a 15-year-old boy with no known enemies? Police have uncovered only one significant clue. A jogger has stated that he saw a young man who could have been a yeshiva student a few blocks from the school at 7 a.m. on the day Chaim's body was found.
Okay, so if that was Chaim, why was he out there at 7 a.m.? I'm wondering, maybe, what if Chaim knew something was going on, like, at the school, and he, maybe he was going to tell somebody. Maybe he was going to tell somebody, and that's why he was killed. I know I'm just kind of throwing out something, but when you literally don't have any answers to any of the questions because people are afraid to say something because of what their religion dictates, it forces people like you, like me, like anybody who's watching this case, it forces us to start coming up with ideas of our own.
All attempts to identify the student have been unsuccessful.
Okay, so that was the case of Chaim Weiss, a fucking tragic case. Honestly, this case should have been solved long ago, long ago. But as you can tell in this video itself, I am not a fan of how these people are not doing anything because of what their religion dictates. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to go to the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, we're going to go to the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki. And if you are new to this series, basically this is where I go to the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki and I look up the case. I do a quick glance over to see if anything has produced since this case first aired on television. Let's take a look, shall we? So, the student's or the person's real name, Chaim Weiss. He had a nickname of Baal Kia Haran. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hebrew for a person capable of understanding. The location was Long Beach, New York. Here, let me take this off. Long Beach, New York, and the date was November 1st, 1986. Wow. November 1st. I was just about to turn 5 years old when this case happened. Look at that. I was almost 5 years old. Now look at me. I got major gray hair. I'm bald. Damn, where has time flown, ladies and gentlemen? Where has time gone? Okay, so we already know the case details. So let's actually scroll down. Let's just go. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, here's something that was not mentioned in the case in the video. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's go up here. The police initially looked into two potential suspects. One was a janitor at the dorm. Here, let me zoom that out a little bit. There, dormitory. Let's see. Where was it? Okay. Oh, here we go. Janitor at the dormitory who quit shortly after the murder and moved back to Europe. The other was a mentally ill man who attacked senior citizens at their Long Beach homes in 1986. However, both men have since been ruled out as suspects. The yeshiva's administrator claimed that the dormitory had been burglarized in the years before the murder. There have been previous incidents of harassment against the dormitory students, possibly related to anti-Semitism. The police officer was assigned to accompany them to and from the yeshiva. On the night before the murder, Halloween night, several students were either chased, taunted, or hit by eggs in 3 attacks by neighborhood thugs. See, now this is something that you don't see on the Unsolved Mysteries thing. That a lot of information is left out. However, it is unknown whether these incidents had anything to do with the murder. The police have looked into the possibility that a Halloween thrill seeker committed the murder. However, the theory was later ruled out. One former student theorized that the killer was trying to get back at either Chaim or his family. An FBI profiler theorized that the killer was someone Chaim knew and was... Hold on. Hold on. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, they theorized that Chaim's... They believe that the murder... Wait, hold on. Okay, well, let's go back here. We'll just start back here again. One former student theorized that the killer was trying to get back at either Chaim or his family. An FBI profiler theorized that the killer was someone Chaim knew well and was possibly around his age. They believed that the murder was planned in advance. Now, if this was somebody Chaim's age, I would say it's possible that somebody 15 years old could hit somebody so hard that it destroyed their spine, basically. I just don't think it's somebody that young. So it had to be somebody, Chaim's age or older. They theorize that Chaim's intelligence and success in life and the fact that he sometimes criticized others may have fueled his killer's emotions. The profiler suggested that jealousy may have been a motive. They described the killer as highly intelligent but criminally unsophisticated. And this kind of goes about what I said earlier, that possibly this could have been a case of just you have a really smart student, Chaim Weiss, and another student whose parents were constantly pushing them to be the best, be the best, be the best. And basically with Chaim there, this other student was always like, say, second best. And he just could not let that. His family demanded that he basically is the best. So basically this student felt no other choice but to basically murder Chaim Weiss. Extra notes. This case first aired on the May 6, 1992 episode. An Unsolved Mysteries researcher discovered the case after reading about it in the New York newspaper Newsday. It was profiled on the Trail Went Cold and Killer Instincts podcast. Over 1,000 people attended. Wow. Over 1,000 people attended Chaim's funeral. That tells you how liked he must have been. Some sources state Chaim was 16. He was struck or stabbed repeatedly in the head, neck, and face with a heavy type of knife. He was found at 7:15 or 7:50 a.m. He was last seen studying with another student in his room or talking with classmates about their vacations and classes. He was last seen at 12:45, 1:20, or 1:25 a.m., and the person who found him was a dorm counselor or dorm leader. Okay, I'm just going to kind of scroll down. Well, basically, the results are that this is unsolved, by the way. Let's see here. Okay, so in July 1986, Chaim called. Hold on. Chaim called Anton from the Yeshiva's upstate summer camp. Chaim was crying and saying that he wanted to come home. Anton must be his dad, possibly. Anton told him to wait until he got back from a trip. When Anton returned home and visited the camp, Chaim seemed fine. He noted that Chaim had never mentioned having any problems at the camp in previous years. In August 1986, Chaim went to visit his grandparents in Europe. During this time, the yeshiva's principal, Rabbi Avram Cooper, called Anton several times asking when Chaim would be back home and saying he wanted to meet with Chaim. Anton felt that it was strange. Yeah. Why the fuck is this adult asking me about my kid? Something doesn't seem right with that. Well, I wish I could zoom in a little bit more, but I cannot. When Chaim returned, his parents agreed to take him to Rabbi Cooper's Brooklyn home. I don't know about you, but I would not take my kid to some guy's home. No, you want to meet with my kid? We're going to meet in a big public area, like a mall, maybe a park, where there's a lot of people, and you can sit your fucking ass down, and I'll sit down over here, and I will keep an eye out, Brooklyn home for the meeting. Rabbi Cooper told them to send Chaim in and for them to wait, what? Oh, this is creepy as fuck. This is creepy as fuck if you ask me. Why do you want my 15-year-old kid in your home? After about 10 minutes, Chaim came back out. However, he did not want to talk about the conversation. Did anybody think about talking to this weird freak? Anton now wishes that he had pressed Chaim about the conversation. Anton also recalls an encounter with Rabbi Cooper after Chaim's murder. According to Anton, Rabbi Cooper told him to reflect on any bad deeds he may have done to consider why bad fortune may have come to the... Anton also says that detectives found Rabbi Cooper at a bar mitzvah just after hours after Chaim's murder. I keep wanting to say Chaim. P1 X11. I'm not sure what that is. Here, let me see if I can. Let's do a research, shall we? Here. Oh, it's a news station. Okay. So, see, this is why, sometimes, it's best to read the whole article, but my throat is bothering me and everything. So I figured I'd try to read like the most recent information. So that's what it is. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let's see here. PIX11 contacted Rabbi Cooper to ask him about Chaim. He said he had no answers regarding the case. When they asked him about Chaim's call from the camp, he said he was not interested in speaking. Okay, this guy is fucking hiding something. This motherfucker is hiding something. When they asked him about his meeting with Chaim, he refused to answer the questions and walked into his house. Anton suspects that Rabbi Cooper may have information about Chaim's murder. Some have speculated that he may have been involved in it. You fucking think? This guy is weird as fucking shit. He had Chaim go into his house by himself. And to me, this guy is giving off serious creeper vibes. Let's see here. Anton suspects that Rabbi Cooper may have information about Chaim's murder. Some may have speculated that he may have been involved in it. Shortly after PIX11's interview with Anton, they received a call from a former student who had attended the Yeshiva in 1976 and 1977. When he was 14, he claims that one rabbi physically abused him regularly, punching, kicking, and twisting his ear. What the fuck? Among other things, he blames Rabbi Cooper for allowing the abuse to occur. PIX11 also learned that a yeshiva student hanged himself from a dormitory shower several years before Chaim's murder. The dean's wife claims that the student had problems and was depressed. The police have reported receiving new tips since PIX11's interview with Anton. Have new tips since the interview with Anton was released. Okay, there it goes. They're continuing to investigate potential suspects in the case. Oh, wow. That was a lot there. Like I said, my throat is now really dry and everything, so I'm constantly having to get something to drink. All right, we have a Chaim Weiss at Find a Grave. To me, it's always a gut punch when it's a child or a teenager. You know, it's like really, really. Chaim Weiss, born September 29th, 1971. Date of death was November 1st, 1986. He was 15 years of age. Location was Long Beach, Nassau County, New York, USA. Burial was at Floral Park Cemetery, South Brunswick, Middlesex County, New Jersey, USA. Okay, so he and basically all it really says is that he is the son of Anton and Pessy Weiss, and then it gives gravesite details. Okay, let's see what photos do we have here. We have 5 photos. Okay, so we have one of the many photos from Unsolved Mysteries. Here is his gravesite. Here is, I'm guessing this was when he was possibly at camp, possibly. I'm guessing this was like a picture at the yeshiva. And then just a zoomed in picture of, I think it was first picture. And that is the case of young Chaim Weiss. He was brutally murdered. Like I said, no, to me, to be murdered when you sleep, it's like no way to die at all because you don't have a chance to defend yourself. I would prefer to go out fighting if you ask me. But yeah, this is one of the cases that just constantly upsets me because of the fact that possibly, things could have been solved if it wasn't for the rules of their religion. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, which, it is sad, but we do have to move on. The next major scheduled installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary will be a Thanksgiving special, ladies and gentlemen. And I just want to kind of give a quick update about the poll that I've been running for about 3 weeks. And I want to say thank you to everybody who has voted in this poll. 14 votes is actually the most I've ever had for these type of polls. So I want to say thank you to everybody who has taken the time to vote, basically. So basically, the choices for the Thanksgiving installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary involve Chucky McGivern or the Cokeville school explosion. And as of recording this, a lot of people want to hear my thoughts about the pieces of shit that try to kill a whole school full of little kids. Just so you know, my opinion on them is not going to be the best. So basically, right now, Chucky McGivern has 36% of the vote, and the Cokeville school explosion has 64% of the votes. This vote will go until November 1st today at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you still have a few hours, ladies and gentlemen, a few hours to get in and vote if you would like, But yeah, so that is it, ladies and gentlemen. The next case, I'm probably going to do another case or two before the next scheduled installment of of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. I just got to figure out what I want to do. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to say thank you to everybody who takes the time to watch this video, and yeah, so it means a lot to me. And granted, some of these are not the biggest viewed videos, but this is something, this is like a passion of the heart for me. This is a passion of the heart, and one day I would love to see cases like this finally get solved. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to back on now, and I'm going to get this processed and everything, and I will see you next time for the next riveting installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Wishing you all a great day, and if somebody wants your kid to come into his house unattended, you say no. Anyway, peace out, everybody. Have a good day.